I don't think we All right. This one is solved by completing the square. When you complete the square, yes, sir. When you complete the square, you want to first of all make sure you got everything on one side, and before we go through and divide out. Granted, you could divide out now by 8, but it's just as easy to move it and then take care of it later. So as I do this, I get 8x squared, 16x minus 49 is 0. Factor out the 8. Divide everything by 8. I have x squared minus 2x minus 49 over 8 is 0. Does that 8 have anything to do with the problem anymore? Nope. Nope. Divide it out. So now I'm left with, I'm going to move the 49 over 8 at the same time. So I have x squared minus 2x, yes sir, plus
in the packet?
Yeah.
What number?
14.
14. Oh, I saw 4. And I was like, what?
Okay. And then I have to do a plus blank here as well. Excuse me. From here, we just go through the motion of taking half of b. Well, half of b here, well, what's half of negative 2? So I get negative 1. That drops into my parentheses. I square it. What's negative 1 squared? 1. Now, when I add to the other side, I'm going to make my life easier. Very good. Now, do you have to do that? Because you have a button on your calculator that will add fractions. Alpha y equals allows you to put a fraction bar in. Okay? Alpha y equals. All right? So now I wind up with x minus 1 equals, what was it? 57 over 8. Move this up. Square root it. X minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 57 over, what's the square root of 8? Very good. Okay. Now,
we don't like that, right?
We don't like that, correct. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do two things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 1. I have a plus or minus root 57 over 2 root 2. But I have to wrap, jeez!
Hi, Gabby.
This feels heavy, should I throw it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is fine.
Is it your phone?
Yes.
Is it really?
You said, should I throw it?
Anyway, so I need to get rid of that root 2. How am I going to get rid of the root 2? So I have 1, shh, guys, come on. Plus or minus, I still have the fraction. Good, perfect. I get the square root of 114 over 4. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is done. The answer in the back showed it as 4 plus or minus root 114 all over 4. What they did there is got the common denominator. That's fine. Okay? Seriously, that's all. That's the only difference. There's a couple of, I think there's a couple of problems that they might have taken a step further as far as rewriting the fractions. Not a big deal. Sir.
One more time, 52.
Rationalize. What's 2 root 2 over 2 root 2? 1. What I'm doing is I'm multiplying it by a shift of 1 to get rid of the radical. That's it.
So you could have done 3.
Yeah, but then you have that scalar you have to simplify out later. What's that?
All of this.
Can't do all of it all. What else you got from this one from last night, that package jump? Oh, by the way, real fast. When I was going through the stuff, I realized I'm going to take the graphing off for tomorrow. But I can still ask you what's the axis of symmetry, what's the vertex, things like that. That's easy. Okay? It means I'm not going to have you graph a shaded polynomial or shaded quadratic, something like along those lines. Because when I was looking at where we're doing starting next week is we're going back to parabolas written in a different form. So when we quiz over the first couple of sections next week, I'll throw that question in. Okay? You'll still have word problems, still have the quadratic, completing the square, all that other junk, but we just won't worry about graphing the intersection of quadratics. Okay? Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. It saves you a couple of minutes. What else we got?
Oh, I got some.
Aaron.
Can you show me 29 and 32? I just wanted to, like, they're kind
Yeah.
of different.
29 and 32. 29 is right there. 32 is right there.
That's, yay! Well, can you show me, well, will you show me how to do that?
29's come up quite a bit today because you guys are overthinking it and making it tougher than it needs to be. We do not like I in the denominator.
No.
I don't like I in the denominator. So in order to do that, we need to rationalize it. A lot of you guys are multiplying top and bottom by 5i because you're thinking I have to multiply by the opposite of the negative and go through that. Well, here's the deal. You can do that. That's fine, but you have a scalar then you have to worry about simplifying out later on. Make it easier on yourself. If I multiply top and bottom by I over I, isn't that the same thing as 5i over 5i?
Oh, it is.
It's just easier. Now, the difference between this one and then having to do that with like 31, I can't do that with 31 because if I just multiplied it by an I, I'd still have an I in there because I'd have a 10i minus, or 10i plus 7 if I simplified it through. These are the cases when you have a binomial, you have to use the conjugate, right? That's where the conjugates come from. So let's finish this one out. We wind up with negative 2i plus 5i squared over negative 5i squared. I squared is, bless you, negative 1. So I get negative 2i minus 5 all over 5. The correct proper etiquette form way of writing that would be the negative 5 first. If you did it, it's not the end of the world. I will just throw things at you.
Pencils are heavy.
I'm not going to do that. That was twice. What else we got? Stella?
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you're taking out the graph part, but we still have to factor it out and then
Yeah, axis symmetry opposite. Right, axis symmetry opposite of b over 2a. There's your x value. That's it. Yeah. 15? Okay. Guys? $15 is another complete to square. This one has had really crummy looking fractions. But remember, you have a calculator that'll allow you to do the addition parts. Again, I'm going to move the negative 2 over, and then I'll divide everything out by 9. 9x squared, 20x, plus the 69 is 0. Divide out by the 9. X squared. Don't use decimals. Oops. You don't need the decimals. Fractions are really easy to use in this case. Get rid of the 9 by dividing everything out. And now I'm going to move the constant over to the other side. So we have x squared plus 20 over 9. Oops, got the x plus blank is the negative 69 over 9 plus blank. Now, when you take half of something, isn't that just multiplying it by half? Yes, ma'am.
What happens to the 9? Like, why do you take that 9 away?
Oh, what, if I divide it by 9, what's 0 divided by 9?
0. Okay. I get it. Okay.
I'm taking the scalar out. That's all it is. Okay. So we take half of 20 over 9, and you get 10 over 9. 10 over 9 drops into your parentheses. So you get x plus 10 over 9, quantity squared. And then when I square 10 over 9, well, what's 10 squared? What's 9 squared? So 10 over 9 squared is? Now in your calculator, to type that in, all you have to do is this. Alpha y equals, enter, negative 69 over 9, move over to the right, plus alpha y equals, enter, 100 over 81, Bada bing, bada boom. Negative 521 over 81.
You want to see the answer?
Okay, so when I'm writing my
Wait, is that the answer?
that has like,
I'm not done yet with this. Sorry, go ahead.
okay, so like when I'm writing my answer and I say like m equals plus or minus 5, I can just write that instead of writing s equals 5 or n equals 5.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I was just, wait, are we gonna go back to the?
Yeah, I'm going back to the problem. I'm not done yet. I'm not done. She just had a quick question offshoot there. I was just right there.
Alright,
So now I have this is going to equal negative 521.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay, you're good.
So now at this point, I have to take the square roots of both sides. Take the square root of both sides. I'm going to get x plus 10 over 9 is plus or minus the square root of negative 521 over what? 9. Because the square root of 81 is 9. We can just simplify and do that right off the bat. What do I have to do with that radical with the negative 521? Take out the I. And do you remember how to check to see if there's a perfect square at all that goes into 521? All right, let's check it. Go to y equals, and I'll check 521 over x squared. And go to my table. And you'll notice there is no perfect square that goes in there. Okay? 521 over x squared. All right? See how it just goes 1, 521, then everything else after that is just all decimals. That means it's not a perfect square. So you leave it. I root 521. You're done. Last piece then is to bring the 10/9 over. So you have x equals negative 10 over 9 plus or minus I root 521 over 9. The answer in the back probably said this, negative 10 plus or minus root of I root 521 all over 9. This means the same thing because it's got a common denominator. If you wrote it as two separate parts, not a big deal. I'm fine with that. It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. What else you got?
Are the answers to the word, someone's up on your system?
No, they're on the back page. On the word problems? No. I'd have to dig those out for you. Yes, sir.
Alright, so just to clarify, for the completing this question, how do you get the spaces again? It's like blank plus, plus blank and then equals whatever plus blank.
Yes, sir.
How do you get the plus blank again?
When you are completing the square, you're moving this c value that you start with to the other side. You try to get something in here that will allow you to get a perfect square. For example, if you had x squared minus 4x plus blank, what's the value of c that creates this to become a perfect square? That's what you're doing. You take half of negative 4, which is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So in your head, you're thinking, what times what's positive 4? You had to be able to get negative 4. It's x minus 2, x minus 2. That's what that means.
Alright, thank you.
Maria, what do you got? 16? You guys need to go back and re-go through completing squared section 5.3. There may be a video online that I've done. There you go. Bring the 2 over. Actually, probably could have moved the 8 right away, but whatever. So now, I'm going to move the 10 back to the other side. Oh no, exactly. So it's plus blank plus blank. Yes, ma'am?
Wait, so you switched that to a plus no matter what? It doesn't, you don't reflect the minus, because it was minus 8.
Right, because what happens here is that if this is x minus 2 quantity squared, wouldn't your last term be positive 4? If this was x plus 3 quantity squared, wouldn't your last term be plus 9? Whenever you have a perfect square trinomial, this is always be a plus sign. That's how this works. Good question. All right. Go through the motion again. Negative 9, half of it, well, it's negative 9 over 2. So x minus 9 over 2. I square it, and I get 81 over 4. Okay. When I add 10 to 81 over 4, wouldn't that be 40 over 4? So we get 121 over 4. Man.
Yay!
I used my calculator and typed in 10 plus alpha y equals 81 over 4. And I got 121 over 4. Don't trust me. Press buttons.
Yes, that's what I get.
We're getting into this today.
Well, I'm actually understanding it.
Good.
Right, that's not like, I finally understand.
It's a good day to finally start understanding it, considering what's tomorrow. You know, I'm going on a limb. That's great. X minus 9 over 2 is plus or minus 11 over 2. And you get x equals 9 over 2 plus or minus 11 over 2. You can leave it like that. The back of the book probably gave you two answers. It probably gave you 10 and negative 1.
Yes.
If you left it like that, that's fine. The reason why they gave you the two actual integer values is because the numbers work. And I'm fine if you leave it like that. That's cool. No big deal.
Are we gonna have to like memorize or like know
The forms?
number?
Yeah, you gotta know the
Okay.
forms.
I was just wondering if you're not gonna have it.
Written forms out. They're assuming way too much. They're like I'm letting you use a calculator, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll take it away.
What do you got?
On the test, when we have to like find a thing, a variable, can we use any method that we want, or do we have to use a method that?
When you're solving, it'll say, just like it did in this right here, solve by factoring, solve by completing the square, solve by using quadratic formulas, solve by any means, whichever means you want.
So we have to do it as a question set.
Correct. And if you do it whatever the way you want, you're not following directions, you don't get any points for it. So would be crazy to show you when you
You wrote like random numbers down, or like the numbers down, but you know you couldn't do that right, and then so you.
It's a whole lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, so you don't have to write out each separate equation, you can just leave it.
If you want to with plus minuses with some of that junk, I'm perfectly fine with you guys leaving it as plus minus, please. No big deal. Okay? No big deal. Let's see, what else was on here? I know you were wondering it, and I wasn't trying to be mean or anything like that. It was just swamping through, and you can't just walk out and walk in and assume I'm going to be able to do that. You know, that's all it was. What was the one you wanted to look at?
5.
Guys, come on now. Solve by taking the square roots. When it says solve by taking the square roots, you're basically working your way backwards to the variable. That's it. Work backwards to solve for x. Add 9. Divide by 7. Take the square root. What's the square root of negative 121, Shimchi?
Hold on, stop.
Well, it's 11I.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And what do I have to do with that root 7 in the denominator? Gotta rationalize it. So multiply top and the bottom by 7. So the right way to write this would be plus or minus 11I root 7 over 7. When you're writing it out in terms of with numbers, i's, and then what is that called? Radical. Numbers first, then the I, then the radical. Yeah, it is. What about it? Ooh, there was one on there I want to look at. We didn't really talk about one like this. Let's see, where was it? This one. The forestry, I think it's the very last page, number 50. I think it's the last one. It's looking for within a parameter. I want to talk about how you can find the parameter with little or no work whatsoever. It's a button on your calculator. So in number 50, it goes through this whole thing about saw timber and whatever. You saw timber and you said hi. I can cut it down. You want me to leave you alone? I'm breaking it in today.
Stop.
Am I rolling? I got a wall.
You're not funny.
You're on a roll.
It's law, I can think it's everything's one. Somebody stop with the cricket thing. Turn it off, whatever. Seriously. I've had it.
You told that just yesterday.
What's that?
You told that just yesterday.
Anyway.
Wait, I didn't hear it.
At least 10. If I wanted to write that out in terms of, bless you, in terms of an inequality, x is at least 10. If I want to say x is at least 10, that means there's a bottom value that it has to be 10. Can it be 10? Can it be greater than 10? So this means x is greater than or equal to 10. So the reason why I say that is because in this problem here, the question they ask you is what is the value of the timber at least, or excuse me, for what harvested timber volumes is the value of the timber at least 400,000? Now, what they're talking about here is this function they give you is where x is the volume of timber harvested, and they're giving you a parameter between 400 and 2,200, the volume, millions of working, okay? So what I want to do is put this in my calculator and figure out where in the world this is showing up. And it's a matter of learning how to play around a little bit with the parameters with your windows and things, okay? So open up the calculator and let's put that in there. It's y equals, I forgot. Silly words. 0.125x squared minus 569x plus 848,000. And I go ahead and, that's just x2, I didn't do x squared, sorry about that. There we go. I go and graph this. Well, you guys probably don't see that at all. The reason why you don't see that is because your window is probably standardized at -10 by 10 and 10. And you're right, you're not going to see that. So think about the information they're giving to you. They're telling you that they, first of all, want you to look at values of x between, what was it, 400 and 2200? So right off the bat, I'm going to adjust my x maximum and minimum to show, remember, just hit window. If they want my minimum value to be at 400, I'm going to put it at 350. That way I can see a little bit before it. If I want my maximum to be at 2200, I'm going to put it at 2300, just so I can see a little bit past it. Does that make sense of why I'm thinking that way? Okay. Now, also, if you hit graph again, you're still probably not seeing anything. Think about what the y-intercept was to start with. It was 800,000, wasn't it? So maybe I'm going to change my y maximum to be about 800,000, just to see what's happening. Do you see how we're just kind of using the information given to us without having to know where it's actually going to show up in the graph, just to mess around with the window so we can get an idea. And now we might see where it's going through. Do you get that? Okay. So what's happening here in this graph is that these are your values of x. Our window is at 350 to 2300. To 2300, I believe. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Should be. I don't know.
Probably not.
That's what I'm here for, Shimki. I'm the shining light in your darkness of day.
Darkness of day.
I don't make stuff up. So here's what I want to do. Yes, ma'am. What's your y equals? Look, you have the graph. It's a minus, I believe. Wasn't it minus 569? That's why. Change your y maximum to 800,000. That means 84,800. Need another zero. All right. So anyway, right now they're looking for between what values of x is that curve at least 400,000. So without doing any work, what can I look for to find a height value somewhere around 400,000? What would you look for? Your
Left bound.
table. Okay. Now think about where we're looking at within parameters. Our parameters are between 400 and 2,000, 2,200, okay? Your table probably started around 0, 1, somewhere in that neighborhood. Do you know how to automatically jump to a bigger number? No. I will show you. second window, your table set. It's going to ask you where you start your table. I'm going to start my table at 400. And then go back to my table. And now all of a sudden, it's at 400. It just jumps for you. Now for you guys, your calculator to go up and down is way, 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 way faster than me pressing these buttons. All you're looking for is what value of X is going to give you that 400,000 between what two values. And just by hitting enter, that's all you got to do. That's it. You could set it equal to those values and solve it and go all that route, but just press buttons on a calculator. You're done. It's like 460-ish and whatever. All you have to do is just hit down and look for it. That's it. Okay? What I'm saying here, you're looking for it because it's asking you for between what levels is it at least 400,000. I know that at 400, where my graph starts, it's at least 400,000. It's at 640,400. So I know that my values of X for this to be workable, would be, X would have to be greater than or equal to 400, but at what value does it become smaller than 400,000? Just keep scrolling to find it. That's it. You're just pressing buttons. Yeah. I mean, you can change your table to keep, like, jump it to go by hundreds if you want, and then just kind of zero it in. But that's all it is, guys.
Like, this is how, like, what, so then the answer would be like, that Y value for 400, but then Y.
Yes, because you're looking at, because that it's starting at that value of X at 400. Your value of X is at least 400,000, it's 600 and something. It's working its way down to where does it stop? What is it? It goes all the way to 2,200, but doesn't the table itself, if I go back to here, I think it's, if I go all the way to 2,200,
It's 200, 1,200.
that's already below 400,000.
I guess it's between
Wait, where did you get 400,000?
1,012 and 1,013.
Yeah. Where we got that from, it asks the question right here. Where is at least 400,000? Okay. And where was it, Cooper?
Is between 1,012 and 1,013.
1,012. So we'll say 1,000. We can just say 1,012-ish and be okay. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Your brother would sit there. Oh, it's 100,000 and June 3rd, and I think he talks like that sometimes too.
Probably.
Yeah.
When he's confused or something.
Yeah. So he goes, I don't know.
No, like, he mumbles a lot, so.
Opa baby.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be 1,012 X 1,013?
What he's saying here is if you get down here to 1,012, you'll notice, if I go to my table here, at 1,012 is the last value before it drops below. So that would be the bottom of it. Below that, it drops below 400,000. That's all. All we did there, we didn't do any math. We just pressed buttons. You're just looking at a range. Sir?
Where'd you get 400 from?
The problem.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
So you don't have to do anything for 2,200?
No, it's just saying that it's between that range. That's all it was given. It was given between that range. All right?
Why did you even do it?
Because it did. I don't know. That's how the model was. What else we got? I just wanted to show you guys how you use the tables. The tables are great. Yes, sir.
So on word problems, you wouldn't care if we just use our calculator and work on the answer?
It's fine, because it usually with the word problem, that's what you wind up doing. You know, don't get me wrong, we talked about this yesterday. There are times when you have those cost problems where you really don't need it, where because you wind up in intercept form. You can figure out what the value of X is. That could be, you know, your price versus your sales. What that value is by substituting in here for what is my best price. Well, X isn't the answer, It's whatever this is substituted back in. Same deal with sales. X isn't the sales, it's when I substitute back into here to tell me how many it is. All right, you got to be careful in what you're at. What did you solve for? And that's where the trickiness can lie. Okay. What else you want to do? A couple more minutes still. Yes, sir.
Number 9 on the packet.
Which one?
Number 9.
Number 9.
Wait,
I got like
The quadratic formula.
I like did it, but I got a completely different answer.
I showed him that video. Quadratic formula. You got to get everything on one side. 8x squared, 3x plus 9. List out what your A, B's, and C's are if you're still messing it up. A is 8, B is 3, C is 9. Sing the song. X equals negative B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Fill in the blanks. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 9 minus 4 times 8 times 9. All over 16. I squared 3 right away and got done with it. Come on, guys. Let's see. We have 72 times 4, so that'd be 144, 288. 9 minus 288 is negative 279. Thank you, I almost said 6. So we have negative 3 plus or minus square root negative 279 over 16. Shimke, did 279 work?
no.
Okay.
3i.
What was it?
3i wrapped to 31.
Oh, so it did work. There was a perfect square there. 9 goes into it? Oh yeah, duh, 9 does.
Yeah.
Duh. 9 goes into 27, 9 goes into 9. Hi, good morning, everybody. So your answer here becomes negative 3 plus or minus 3i root 31 all over 16.
Okay, I see. I added. I don't know why I added 3 squared plus 4 something.
Be careful. Remember, write it out and watch your signs of the coefficients. That's why I always say label your coefficients. You'd be less likely to screw up. Okay?
You gotta be careful, math can be dangerous.
Math is dangerous. It is a contact sport. It's mental abuse to humans.
Because like I couldn't, he gave it to me yesterday. I couldn't even figure it out, so I told Renee, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And he had to tell me that like what he meant. I didn't say that. So when I sat here the first half of the period trying to figure out what it
Yes, sir.
meant.
So is packet due just to help?
Just to help you, I expect you guys to study this stuff through. Yes, sir. 90%. Nah, just free to study from.
Oh,
Oh, he said because 16 or
You know why? I got a 0 here. 800. You did the same thing, Shimke. Shimke, don't talk to her anymore. She did the same thing you did.
Do you think that anyone's really going to
Other questions, guys? Got some more time here. Shimky, what do you got?
Graphing, I forget how we, is that like, okay, so like.
Hey, guys, heads up. Graphing. Can you tell me where the axis of symmetry is? Can you tell me where the vertex is?
Yeah. Why not?
That's all you have to do. I'm not having you plot any curves.
Oh, thank God,
If
Mr. Murphy.
if we want to practice, do we just practice finding the axis of symmetry and the vertex?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Alright, that helps a
Do
lot.
that, but
That's a lot of things that helps.
I'll find it. It's not hard.
I'm
It's
so
easy.
bad at
Axis of
graphing.
symmetry. Let me show you.
I know axis of symmetry is negative b over 2a, right?
Okay. Guys, heads up. I'm trying to help somebody here. You might want to listen.
But isn't it different based on what type of form it's set in?
Not really, because in this case is your standard form.
Yeah.
So your axis of symmetry is the opposite of b over 2a. If you are in standard form, like or vertex form, y equals 2x plus 3 quantity squared minus 4. This is your h and k is your vertex, and x equals h is the axis of symmetry. Because watch, here, if I do the axis of symmetry, I get negative 6 over 2 times negative 1, and I get 3.
Okay.
3 is the x-coordinate of the vertex,
Yes.
and it's also the axis of symmetry. H is the x-coordinate of the vertex. It is therefore the same thing as the axis of symmetry. Graphing out of vertex form is redonkulously easy. Substitute back in here, you get 9 with a negative in front of it, plus 18 minus 12. So you get 9, you get negative 3. There's your vertex.
Alright.
You know that it's down like a crown, and it's a minimum, it's a maximum.
Oh, don't your axis of symmetry what are your
Vertex lies on the axis of symmetry.
Duh.
That's the whole point of being able to find. That's why we find maximums and minimums with the curves, because it allows you to figure out your halfway points if you're starting at 0, like the cannon. Or if you're Jackie, George, or Kersey, it's not the axis of symmetry because it fell behind you. Hopefully not on someone's foot.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Right, shot. Thank you. Did you guys call each other today? Did you guys call each other today? Just one.
Oh, hey, Mr. Murphy, I found my
Mr.
phone.
Pope, what do you got? Vertex form, intercept form, the last couple of questions on the back.
It's not even like one of the problems. What is A part of the?
A is what you're solving for. When you have,
So you do.
ladies and gentlemen, when you're looking for something that you're in vertex form, it's A x minus h quantity squared plus k. You're going to be given an h and a k, your vertex, and you'll be given a point. Those are 4 out of the 5 variables. You're going to be solving for A. It's the same thing when you do the intercept form. That's where you had y equals a, x minus p, x minus q, where the p's and q's were your zeros, your intercepts. You were given the y and the x, and you had to solve for a. You just go back and rewrite. And then we had the other one with the matrix. That was really easy. I don't think I have to worry about that one, I hope. Okay? Remember, Maria? Yes, ma'am. I can try and make more stuff up if you want. I think it's like 2 or so, but there might be a part or 2 of one of them. But it's nothing crazy. There's